This is a WNBA reporter, people, but it's like you can't say something like this and not get called out. And she is definitely getting called out. And Natalie Esquire is not new to putting down the efforts of Caitlin Clark and what she has accomplished in the previous season.
Caitlin Clark's popularity is tied to her whiteness. What Nike and Caitlin Clark are known for as of right now is the fact that they have set on Caitlin Clark as what is their most valuable asset.
Caitlin tried to flop. She tried to flop on what happened. Like, that little shoulder bump, it was not that serious. Okay, Caitlin, I need you to be all the way serious and for real, okay? You fell down. The first thing you did is, and you looked to the damn ref to give you what?
Within hours, it snowballed into a storm of lies, clickbait headlines, and hate-filled narratives that had nothing to do with who Caitlin really is. But this time, she didn't just walk it off. She hit back, hard. In a shocking turn of events, Caitlin Clark has allegedly filed a lawsuit against the reporter responsible.
Caitlin Clark agent named Aaron Kane is calling for higher WNBA salaries in the midst of the WNBA. It is the Caitlin Clark effect, I do believe, that has helped to elevate the entire league. So when you look at the salaries league-wide, including Caitlin Clark's, they're very embarrassing. Caitlin Clark was just paid over $78,000 this past year as her salary. When you look at what the NBA players are making, nowhere close. Like,
I set the record in 5 games, right?
Yeah.
Because back then, we had a first-round bye. So we didn't get to play, I didn't get that 6 games. So I set the record in 5 games.
Took her extra game.
Well, I'm just saying.
You can say that.
No, listen. If I have 6 games,
The record's different.
well, I'm going to have another 30. But I don't really care what the record is, who has the record.
Let's get into the stats. Best point guard in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark. In her one professional season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark came away with an average of 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds for the season.
Women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. Like, you say you're not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also, like, she's good at basketball. But, like, she understands her privilege and like, pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you. And I mean, that's a compliment.
If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it. If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years.
Sad, right? She averaged 4 rebounds and 7.3 assists. Still is not better than Caitlin Clark's averages. 2021, 11.1 points. 2020, 14 points. 2019, 14.5. There is not one year where she averaged more points than Caitlin Clark. There is not one year where she averaged more assists than Caitlin Clark.
she was remarkable on top of the fact that she had to deal with so much hate when she got to the WNBA.
About like the way she dresses, like she's always showing too much of her body. It's her body, and it's an amazing body. And if she wants to show it off, she's allowed to do that. The crown she wears is heavy. The way, to me, I think, considering all that comes at her, I think she's handled herself gracefully.
There's been a lot of chatter out there that I ain't got it, man. I'm here, man. So, quiet the noise and keep playing my game. Having fun and doing it. I enjoy this game and I love it so much. So, playing with them all the time and they got my back, so.
People will say, pay more attention to the other folks. Like, she couldn't do it herself. You know, LeBron has teammates, Jordan had teammates. I understand.
I think that experiencing it, I love Caitlin Clark fans, but Caitlin Clark fans was different.
And to me, as I understand that Caitlin is, you know, one of her clients, probably, I don't want to say her biggest one, but definitely one that she focuses a lot on, I'm sure. And so she's going to say this. And a lot of people had things to say about positioning just Caitlin Clark, which I agree with, because she's not the only player that brought in revenue. She's not the only player who's bringing in eyes. She's brought in a lot. Her impact is great.
Will say it's not about black and white, but to me, it is. It's really because you can be the top notch at what you do as a black woman, but maybe there's something that people don't want to see.
Rules. What started as a reckless media smear spiraled into a cultural reckoning, and instead of breaking under the weight of it, she rose higher. She didn't beg for sympathy or spiral into scandal. She showed up, lawyered up, and let her game do the talking.
Caitlin Clark is the best point guard in the history of the WNBA already. Caitlin Clark had tied the WNBA record for most career games with 25 points and 10 assists.
Because this wasn't just gossip. It had real consequences on her image, on her mental health, and potentially on her career. And for Caitlin, enough was enough.
Now Caitlin Clark has been getting comparisons to the most famous person in the world at this point in time, Taylor Swift. White was giving a comparison to the star status of Caitlin Clark, and she stated this precisely. She
is not a headline, not a pawn, but a fighter, a game changer, and most importantly, someone who refuses to let lies define her legacy.
WNBA has never even been talked about in the past. So now to say that you have somebody whose celebrity is as mainstream and as Taylor Swift, that is actually incredible if you think about it. She drew a WNBA record, 1.84 million viewers to her first playoff game against the Connecticut Sun. And the reason that this is important because this game took place on an NFL Sunday.
Great would Asia be if she didn't have that mentality, because she can play. She plays all the time. Nobody watches.
It was a statement loaded with assumptions, a dangerous blend of race, image, and intention.
Make her look good? This makes her look terrible. I'm shocked. That was pathetic. And then finally, she makes the layup. We're celebrating that? Really?
It all began with an offhand remark that should have never made it past the ESPN editing room. The reporter, whose name is now being dragged across social media, went on air and implied that Caitlin Clark was purposely distancing herself from her black teammates to chase a white savior narrative, too. Every shot she hit, every record she broke, was a direct counterpunch to the false image that had been painted of her. The court had become her statement, and while the lawsuit continues to loom in the background, its details tightly managed by lawyers, accusations piled up quickly, none of them rooted in reality, but that didn't matter. The internet wasn't asking for truth. It wanted outrage.
Caitlin looked like $1 million at the Super Bowl. Real professional. Caitlin looked like somebody our kids could, inspire to watch. There's a big difference between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and I'm done talking about it.
Dr. Ryan Brewer calculated that Clark has made the city of Indianapolis $36 million in her rookie season. The calculation showed that Clark contributed to 26.5% of the WNBA's economic activity.
Fans showed up at games and let Caitlin play shirts, a not-so-subtle nod to the chaos she'd endured. The WNBA, which had once seemed uncertain how to position her amid the controversy, suddenly leaned all the way in. Her face was back on banners, her name returned to headline status, and media coverage began focusing on her gameplay.
I love my teammates so much that I will take any hit from them. Good, bad, ugly. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to be the best. I get y'all saying best player in the world.
Neatly into the expected mold. Some defended Caitlin, calling her response brave and necessary. Others accused her of being too sensitive, saying criticism comes with the territory.
But is she better than Caitlin Clark? Statistically, nope.
Natalie, I believe it said last year that a compromised Chelsea Gray was 10 times better than Caitlin Clark. No one is scoring and dishing at the rate Caitlin Clark is in the history of the WNBA.
The ESPN segment kept airing, fueling more headlines. Fan accounts reposted it, influencers chimed in.
Could have just said, hey, y'all lay off Caitlin Clark, let's embrace her. But nope, her frail ass ego was jealous of Caitlin Clark's popularity.
The moment word got out that Caitlin Clark was taking legal action, everything changed. What had initially been dismissed by some as just another hot take spiraled into a full-blown media crisis.
Number one factor in her popularity is her ability and how entertaining she is to watch. That's why she's become internationally popular. That's why the record books have her name at the top of them.
One of the more interesting aspects of this fanhood is that some of the biggest supporters of Caitlin Clark are not whites. They're actually black males.
Natalie Esquire says Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA. That hasn't changed because she has a down year returning from injury. The disrespect on her name was ridiculous.
Twisted for views. She was going to fight back, and she was doing it in the one language media giants truly understand. Legal action. The reporter at the center of it all suddenly found themselves in the crosshairs of more than just public opinion. According to sources close to the situation, Caitlin's camp wasn't just considering a statement or a PR cleanup. They wanted accountability. They wanted the reporter to face consequences for what they saw as deliberate defamation.
And yes, Aja Wilson's jersey retirement was on the exact same day. There was no question about it.
What was crazy about this, the numbers were much better than NBA legend Kobe Bryant's jersey retirement ceremony on December 18, 2017. On Iowa versus USC, February 3rd, was also the second most watched game in NCAA history, just by her going to the game.
Those familiar with the matter alleges that the ESPN reporter knowingly broadcast false information with the intent to harm Caitlyn's reputation.